Hello, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Still continuing onwards and forwards here despite our computer problems, though it does mean that I can't quite tackle the rest of the guide for the first edition Pathfinder Druid. I'm still going to try to get some kind of content out for all of you wonder folks out there today and keep the channel moving onwards and upwards as much as possible. So, to that end, today I want to talk about changing how necromancers are viewed in your game and also by your players if you're at all so inclined for such a thing. And it's largely just because necromancers and necromancy, the art of raising the dead and using all these magics relating to the dead and to a certain extent at one point in time healing as well, but that's a whole nother story. It still has this kind of sense of taboo about it, this negative connotation, because fundamentally, these magics are disturbing a body that's at rest, oftentimes buried, and it gets framed in this very violating sort of way. It breaks these social norms and conventions and really paints a negative light around those spellcasters who use it. Just the word necromancer conjures and evokes a very particular image in the mind. These dark robed, hunched, pale, crooked things, these beings that may have been humans at one point or even mortal, but have just become so twisted as they steep themselves into these dark magics and strange rituals that ripped the souls of the dead from their hereafter, from their deserved rest, and crammed them back into pain-filled mortal shells that are heavily decayed, or they've just used dark magics to animate these bodies and send them forth to do their dark will and evil bidding out all across the land. And it's classic, it's a cool image, and it evokes a lot of a certain kind of feeling and a sense for the players that, yeah, this is going to be somebody we really enjoy putting back into the dirt. But it doesn't really have to be that way. And this video got inspired by a conversation I was a part of, I want to say about a year ago on a Facebook group regarding necromancers and just kind of changing the overall image for them. And one of the things that occurred to me and was part of this discussion, and might have been from a Tumblr post, but was the idea that there were these low grade necromancers. Not very strong, not very powerful, but they were semi nomadic in nature in the sense that, if one necromancer had multiple apprentices, they could go out across various towns, and towns are going to have cemeteries. And what's a great way to counteract necromancers that are looking to violate the well earned rest of the dead and properly buried who have had all the various ceremonies put over them? What's a great way to protect them and ensure that those wards are maintained? Having your own necromancer on hand. Having your own necromancer on hand who daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, during the lunar new year, during the different moon phases and cycles, they conduct these rituals. Maybe they're not super powerful, but they keep getting layered and layered and layered, day after day, week after week, month after month, cycle after cycle, through all of these different prestigious events that hold some kind of connotation and power that the necromancer, even if they're low level, can tap into. Is, if every town has its own necromancer overseeing and maintaining a cemetery in conjunction with whatever clerics or priests might be on hand, then they're probably not going to be the most incredibly powerful. You could almost think of this as somebody practicing a trade and taking on an apprentice. Level 3, maybe level 4 spellcaster whose whole job is to just maintain these particular sets of wards that make it difficult for other wandering necromancers who are seeking to do harm to come in and raise the dead of these from these local graves, from these local communal graves and the like. And they can do all sorts of things. They can make deals with different spirits that have stronger and closer ties to the mortal realm, where, say, every once in a while, somebody's nana, somebody's grandmother is like, okay, I'll lend my little bits of power to you in exchange one time out of the year. I want to come back and see my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. I want you to help me manifest my spirit on this spot so I can interact. And you can even make it this whole little supernatural community of all these disembodied spirits that every now and then they, on one particular day of the year, they're all able to gather back through the power of this ritual that this necromancer utilizes, tapping into all the wards, into all the little bits of power that each individual spirit can manifest and bring into themselves, and coalesces all of it together on this particular day, and allows these different spirits to come back and see their families, to talk with all of these different descendants and maintain these lineages and ties and traditions and stories, so that these towns' histories can be so much more complete and replete with knowledge. And it just adds on to it. And you can keep stacking and stacking on these different ideas and have all these wonderful, wholesome interactions with otherwise dead spirits that normally don't happen just when you have the same, dare I say it, generic evil necromancer that is just conjuring the dead and mashing body parts together and making monsters out of the various body parts, their own flesh golems and the like. There's a lot of interactions that would otherwise be lost out on, and it's something that the players would certainly lean into and have a lot of fun with. I mean, even if this is a spellcaster that isn't incredibly powerful, he's a wealth of knowledge for all the different goings-ons in this town, and can actually use his power and his ties with the community and all of these spirits to bring back people that can give information to the players. And or one of the spirits can go, okay, well, if they agree to help the town save my kiddos, save their kiddos, the grandkiddos, the great-grandkiddos, everybody on down the line, then I'll tell them where Moldavian's secret stash is up in the mountainside. Moldavian was this old ranger, retired in the region here. He had a shack some ways up the road, and he had a stash from his adventuring days that he had mentioned to me one time when we were drinking together at the bar, and he told me the location. But out of respect for the man, and also because I was certain he could string me up and gut me like a fish, I never really told anybody about it or went and dug through it myself. But you save the town, I'll tell you where it's at, and I'm sure brave adventurers such as yourselves wouldn't be too worried about whatever traps a cranky old ranger might have left behind. And you can turn it into this incredible story, and my ADHD is kind of going mile a minute here, but you get the idea, I believe. You can see what I'm getting at, how this necromancer can have, and necromancers in general can have, a more wholesome feel and approach to them just by thinking about it a little bit and changing your approach overall. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Let me know either way. Hit those like or dislike buttons. And remember, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. With all that said, I've been Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.